Islamists are trying to destroy America. Today, a 200-page year-long report by the Institute for the Study of Global Anti-Semitism and Policy says there's a 100-year plan by a militant Islamist organization with groups in more than 70 countries known as the Muslim Brotherhood, which oddly America does not see as a terror organization. And their plan is to transform Western society from within and destroy our democracy. And they're about halfway there. How? Infiltrating college campuses. Lots of bot accounts and troll accounts that make us hate each other, and destroying our institutions. Earlier this week, Texas Governor Greg Abbott declared the Muslim Brotherhood and the Council on American Islamic Relations, known as CAIR, as both terror organizations. Now, they're suing Abbott, and that's not really his purview, but of course, it's just politics of provocation, right? Is it justified? I have a co-author of the report, Dalia Ziada, and former FBI and CIA counterterrorism official, Mr. Phil Mudd. Good to have you both. Dalia, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Chris. So happy to be with you.
So you have to, let's begin at the beginning. People always hear Islamists and think Muslims. So what do you want people to understand about where the threat is and how real it is?
Over the past 2 decades, at least, if not 3 decades since 9/11 or more, the Muslim Brotherhood, and they have actually said this, put this in their documents, their strategies, they hijacked the identity of mainstream Muslims and represented themselves as a speaker in the name of Muslims. But what most people don't know is that there are so many shades of Muslims, ranging from reformists up to extremists. However, unfortunately, those who are speaking in the names of Muslims, especially in the West today, are radical groups like the Muslim Brotherhood, and they are doing this as part of their identity politics game that gives them legitimacy and allow them also to weaponize the voices of Muslims to destroy America's democracy and freedom.
Let me ask you one more question, then we'll bring in Phil. CAIR is a well-known in media circles advocacy group for Muslims. When there's a terror attack that involves an extreme Islamist or a jihadi, they have a tendency to come out and say, don't judge us all by these people, we condemn them, and use all the ordinary language. Why do you include them as an extension of a terror organization?
First, I would love to applaud the decision made by Texas governor recently of designating both CAIR and the Muslim Brotherhood. And by the way, this is the first action on that level to mention the Muslim Brotherhood and CAIR by name, which in my opinion is so brave, because for so long, CAIR has been camouflaging the audience into believing that they are really representing Muslims. But in reality, as our research show, and it's a long research, actually you spend an entire year collecting this information, we found that thanks to organizations led by CAIR and its friends or sisters, the Muslim Brotherhood were able to create an empire on their own, a network on their own that infiltrated into educational systems, created parallel institutions for Muslim communities that isolated them from their American society and American interests, made America comes next for them. And most importantly, they have also infiltrated the political system.
All right. So, Mr. Mudd, you've heard this. Putting aside the deep weeds of how American law is a little squishy when it comes to domestic terror organizations, mostly because both the right and left thought it would be used against them. Let's be honest. They weren't thinking about protecting the country. Where is your sensitivity to what we should be concerned about in terms of Islamism destroying us?
Low. And I would go to extremely low. I mean, I spent 25 years dealing with this, including 5 at the FBI after 9/11. If you think we didn't think about the Muslim Brotherhood and CAIR, Chris, America has forgotten what it was like 20 years ago. Every day we went into twice-a-day threat briefings talking about who was a threat to America. CAIR was a problem. We can talk about that. They're a problem because they told Muslim Americans not to talk to the FBI. That's irritating. That's not illegal. Let me cut to the bottom line. If you break a local, state, or federal statute, you should be charged and thrown in jail. If you choose to practice an aggressive form of religion and say that you don't like Israel or you want Islamic values represented in America, like it or not, that's accepted in America.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our new...
Let's first deal with Sharia courts and this designation of the Muslim Brotherhood and CAIR.
Well, first, with regard to CAIR and the Muslim Brotherhood, we all know that the Muslim Brotherhood has been involved in terror across the world. And as you listed on your show already, you pointed out two of many examples about how CAIR and its affiliates are tied to both Hamas as well as to terrorism. And in fact, one of the founders of the Texas branch of CAIR was sent to prison for 65 years for financing terrorism. The fact of the matter is there are people associated with CAIR who pose a serious danger, and that's exactly why I designate them as a foreign terrorist organization that, among other things, prohibits them from either owning or buying property in the state of Texas.
Okay, let's move on. Are there really Sharia courts in the great state of Texas? God bless Texas. Is that real?
Sean, it is real. We know of at least two that exist in the Dallas area. We're looking broader in Dallas County as well as Collin County, which is right next to Dallas. And that's why I sent the letter to officials both in Dallas and Collin counties to urge them to take action to root out any Sharia courts. And I am deploying the Texas Department of Public Safety to also root out any Sharia courts anywhere in the state of Texas. To be clear, the Texas Constitution does not allow Sharia courts or Sharia law. Texas statutes have banned Sharia law, and we are going to pursue this until we purge any attempt to impose Sharia law in Texas.
Let me ask you the last question. The court decision on the issue of congressional district in your state, I do believe you'll win on appeal, but this is kind of par for the course lately, isn't it?
Well, it is par for the course, also par for the course for the judge who issued the opinion. The judge who issued the opinion was overturned by a Fifth Circuit en banc court last year for his most recent decision in redistricting, and he got it wrong then. He got this one wrong now. And look at the senior judge who presided over this matter in this redistricting case, a three-judge panel. The senior judge took that judge to task, the judge who wrote the opinion, and eviscerated him in more than a 100-page opinion. I've never seen language so harsh by one federal judge against another federal judge, and I feel confident the United States Supreme Court is going to agree with that senior judge from the Fifth Circuit that this decision was a gross misjudgment.
To stop this, where do you see this country in 10, 15 years?
Well, first off, for any of your audience that doesn't recognize that actor, that is Mandy Patinkin, who played Inigo Montoya in The Princess Bride. I mean, he basically has now ruined the movie because these actors can't shut up and they end up ruining their art. Where does this lead us in 20 years if we don't take care of this now? Well, we end up like Western Europe, which is hanging on by a thread. I mean, I don't know when the last time you've been to London is. I usually go about once a year for various conferences and events, and every time I go, it has been more Islamized. That's just a fact. That's not bigoted, as you pointed out, or anything else. And you might say, okay, well, we can have all sorts of different people from all sorts of different religions living in the same place. And from an American perspective, that really has worked. That's what the melting pot is. Except if you listen to the words of the Dearborn mayor that you played right there, the man that was talking to him was a Christian preacher who was pointing out that 241 American troops were killed by Hezbollah in Lebanon, and his reaction was to say, "Get out of my city." I mean, that guy, if the Democrat Party had any value at this point, they would be kicking this guy out of the party immediately. But the city has been taken over. People fully understand that now, and it will not be the only one. There are no-go zones in Europe, and we will likely have them if we don't have them already here in America.
Yeah, get ready for Christmas a year from now when Mendami's mayor. Christmas lights will be offensive. You won't be able to walk your dogs in certain neighborhoods. People don't think it's real. It's already happening in other parts of the country. For anyone who thinks it's not a problem already, Greg Abbott in the state of Texas right now is working to ban a Sharia law court that's been in practice there, essentially subverting U.S. law and the U.S. courts. How crazy is that?
No, it's completely insane. I mean, we have one set of laws here in the United States. It's the laws of the United States that start with the Constitution, and we've got our Bill of Rights, and then states have their individual laws, et cetera, et cetera. If you're going to have a secondary system of laws, well, then the first system, in essence, doesn't exist. So this needs to be dealt with now. Texas has a huge problem. I think we covered some numbers on my show yesterday. I think in Dallas, about 48 mosques have sprung up in the last 2 years. 2 years, think about that, in the greater Dallas area. Now, again, that's not to say that the individual Muslim person, your neighbor, can't be a perfectly lovely person. But we know, and as my friend Charlie Kirk often pointed out, Islam at scale becomes oppressive. It's a proselytizing religion that wants other people either to convert or, as the man pointed out in that video, live as dhimmis, live as second-class citizens. So wherever Islam exists at a political level, it's not good for women. It's certainly not good for religious minorities. I mean, there's no more Coptic Christians in Egypt. Lebanon was a Christian country. The one place that Muslims are living actually freely, where they can fully vote and everything else in the Middle East, is Israel, but they're not too thrilled with the Jews either. And there are no Jews living in any of the Muslim nations at this point. There's a couple here and there. So it's a huge problem, because once it becomes political, it's not good for anybody, including, by the way, the nominal Muslim who doesn't want to necessarily have a burqa or whatever else. So
Dave,
that's the problem. And
such a good point. Think about Sharia law. Okay, we have people holding up Queers for Palestine signs. If being queer in Palestine is punishable by death, Sharia law, theft, punishable by the amputation of the hands. A Muslim who becomes a non-Muslim, punishable by death. A non-Muslim who marries a Muslim woman is punishable by death. Girls can be sodomized. A woman who's been raped cannot testify in court against her rapist. This is not congruent with Western civilization, let alone our Constitution. So my question, should the White House consider, not a Muslim ban, like during the first Trump administration, but a pause on all legal immigration from all Muslim countries? And I'll add to that, should Sharia law be banned in this country before this gets completely out of hand, which it already has, I think?
The second part's very easy. I mean, should Sharia law be banned? Yeah, you can't have a secondary system of law in any country, because that, as I said earlier, that basically eliminates the first system.
Why hasn't the White House done that? I'm surprised.
That's an easy one. Well, I think in the last few weeks, it seems like this problem is finally bubbling up a little bit more to the mainstream now that guys like us have been covering it online and in some of the alt media. So something's happening there. As for your first question, I mean, there really was never a Muslim ban, because if I'm not mistaken, the 6 largest Muslim countries were not even on the original list. But I would say, look, our border has been closed. We have every right, as every other country on earth does, to vet people as we see fit.
Yes.
But, from some of those videos that you played, it's not just an incoming problem. We now have homegrown people who have no problem going out on video. Usually they're masked, but some of these guys aren't, and saying they are here to destroy our system. That's a problem that really, it's one thing to deal with an illegal immigration problem. It's something very different to deal with people who are legally part of your country who are saying that their goal is to destroy the system. What do you do about that? That's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah, I'm glad we're talking about it, because others are not. And this topic's not going away. Dave Rubin, appreciate you being here tonight. Good to see you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ben, and I'm here to
Well, we're in the Christmas spirit, the Thanksgiving spirit. I'll tell you what city is not, and that would be Chicago. What should have been a peaceful tree lighting ceremony turned deadly in Chicago. President Trump says that Chicagoans are actually chanting for him to come back, bring in Trump, after a 14-year-old boy was tragically killed and 8 other teenagers were shot. Plus, multiple police officers were attacked in a violent 300-person riot days after a career felon was accused of setting a woman on fire on a Chicago train, which the mayor dismissed as just an isolated incident. You guys, this is crazy what's happening there.
Yeah, it really is. And I think it's kind of remarkable to think about a Republican president who is weighing in on this. Usually you have Republicans who do not care about things that happen in places like Chicago ever. And you have a president in President Trump who cares deeply about what is happening in a deeply Democrat city like Chicago. And as usual, brings his completely fresh perspective of what I think is a normal person's perspective, which is, are you kidding me? A tree lighting ceremony, 8 teenagers shot, 1 killed. This is totally unacceptable in the leading country of the free world.
Like the United States is finally serious about taking action, real action against the Muslim Brotherhood. For the first time, they are naming the Muslim Brotherhood what it is. We can see this in the statements of Dr. Gorga just a few minutes ago. And by the way, a few of his staff were present in our conference a few days ago about the Muslim Brotherhood and Qatar backing to them. And from the President Trump himself. And last week, we saw the designation made by the Texas governor. For the first time, they are naming the Muslim Brotherhood, mentioning the Muslim Brotherhood by name, naming it what it is, a foreign ideological project that has wreaked havoc in the Middle East for decades and is now representing a threat to the United States. So we are witnessing today is nothing short of a historic moment.